Given his answer to oral question number 2 yesterday, why doesn't he want to see, quotes, excessive rural land sold to overseas buyers, end quote, and see New Zealanders become tenants in our own country?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Speaker, it's a matter of striking an appropriate balance. As I said, this government wants New Zealand to be open to the world. We welcome investment that supports jobs and growth in New Zealand. At the same time, we've protected New Zealand's interests by allowing ministers to consider a wide range of issues when assessing overseas investment in sensitive land and emphasise jobs and New Zealand's economic interests. That's why we've seen the rate of approval for net land sales to foreign buyers fall from an average of 68,682.7 hectares per year under Labor and David Parker to 35,841.7 under this government. We think our approach is more effective than setting up a new Chinese-sounding name inspectorate within the OIO.
Supplementary.
Order. Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Given that in just 5 years his government has approved the sale of land bigger than the combined area of Auckland, Christchurch, Dunedin, Hamilton, Hastings, Napier, Palmerston North, Tauranga, Wellington, Whangarei, Invercargill and New Plymouth twice over, how much more land does he expect to approve for sale in the next 2 years?
Mr. Speaker,
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I suspect the Leader of the Opposition is making it up because yesterday he came to Parliament and said that we'd sold 250,000 hectares since July 2010. And I suspect, Mr. Speaker, that's the basis of the diatribe he's just come into Parliament with, which is just plain wrong because, by the way, it includes leases, not sales, rollover of leases. It includes where things are sold to a consortium, including New Zealanders. Mr. Speaker, the number is actually 40% of Mr. Little's made-up number, and it's half what Labor sold. The problem is not national, Mr. Speaker. It's David Parker.
The answer's now.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Well, given that he's been in charge for 7 years, isn't it time for him to take responsibility for his own actions rather than acting as if he's playing in the playground?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, this is a government that on a net basis sold half what Labor did. This is a government that in office actually sent new directors. Yeah, well, there might be more if the way you keep going is having policies twice as bad as ours, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this is the government that directed the OIO with 2 new considerations under the benefits test, including an economic interest factor and a new mitigating factor. Mr. Speaker, every time the Leader of the Opposition comes to Parliament, he comes arguing about something we're doing when the record of Labor in government was worse. You need to find something new.
Order.
Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
So at what point does he believe too much of our land has been sold? How much is too much?
Mr. Speaker,
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
when David Parker is responsible for it and twice as much is sold.
Supplementary question. Supplementary.
Supplementary question, Tim McIndoe.
Thank you, sir. What reports has the Prime Minister seen supporting the role foreign investment plays in supporting growth and jobs in New Zealand?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've seen a couple of reports in recent months, both strongly supporting the role of foreign investors play in supporting jobs and growth, Mr. Speaker. The first said, and I quote, "Well, I'm not anti-foreign investment. I think we're a country that's been built on foreign direct investment." The second report called for, get this, more foreign investment in manufacturing and in the regions, and I quote, "Either state investment, government investment or foreign direct investment. Yeah, I mean both should complement each other." That was Andrew Little before he became number 8.
Order. Order.
Prime Minister finally got something.
Order.
Yeah.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Order. Order. The Honourable Paula Bennett, if she wants to remain for question time, will stop interjecting when I've asked for silence for this question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Bringing the question back to the topic of the primary question, which is land sales, What specific evidence does he have that the land sales that have happened under his watch have created jobs, in light of the fact that the Overseas Investment Office has failed to collect any evidence of job creation?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, the first thing I'd say is half of it is taking place at the rate, or it's taking place at half the rate it did under the previous government. Secondly, actually, this is the Overseas Investment Office that's controlled by the Overseas Investment Act that was actually passed by the Labor government in 2005. And thirdly, Mr Speaker, I think it's plain for anyone to see that jobs are either created or saved. And I challenge the member to go down to the Crayford farms, go and have a look and see whether Shanghai Pengjing has created more jobs or less jobs. Go and have a look.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order, Andrew Little.
Mr Speaker, that question related to the evidence that the Prime Minister had about job creation from these sales.
I'm going to move the matter forward. I'm going to invite the question to be asked again.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. What specific evidence does he have that the land sales that have occurred under his watch have created jobs, in light of the fact that the Overseas Investment Office has failed to collect any evidence of job creation?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, the applications that were lodged at the time the purchases were made.
Supplementary.
No evidence at all.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
If he really thinks it's bad for us to become tenants in our own land, why is his government doing nothing to prevent these sales? Or is it just more hollow words from a hollow Prime Minister?
Order.
Mr Speaker,
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
This would all be believable if the numbers were the other way around. But this is the Leader of the Opposition whose Labor Party policies sold twice as much land. That's it. You don't need to know any more than that.
Supplementary question, the Right Honourable Winston Peters.
Why is the Prime Minister hiding behind the defence that the information is confusing or not present, yet he opposes New Zealand's first far-sighted Land and Home Register Bill, which has international precedent?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Well, Mr Speaker, we're not hiding behind any information. The information is clear. Twice as much land was sold on a net basis under Labor.
Supplementary question, Andrew Little.
Isn't the truth that he will talk the talk but he won't walk the walk? He doesn't actually care about us becoming tenants in our own land. That's why he continues to rubber stamp land sales.
Mr Speaker,
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, here are the facts. Under Labor, net sensitive lands approved for sales 68,682.7 hectares per year. Under National, 35,841. So why do we have this line of questioning this week? It's hardly the biggest line. I'll tell you why. Because Labor have invested some of their leaders' budget into a new pamphlet they put out there because the Leader of the Opposition's on 8% and no one's listening to it.
Order. Order. Deviating a long way from the answer now. Question.